It is finally time for the off-season here in year number 1 for the Galaxy College Moonbears. We finished season 1 with a 2-10 record, so we are really just looking to completely overhaul this team for year number 1. And the first thing on the docket is to fire our offensive coordinator. Keeping the defensive coordinator, even though our defense was also pretty bad, one of the worst in the countries. Joe Maynard, who is our defensive coordinator, his talent tree was all right, but our offensive coordinator was not helping us at all. He had like 2 or 3 traits in the motivator tree, and other than that, it really wasn't anything. But we finished the season 2-10 with a bunch of blowouts in the second half of the year. Our only wins coming against Buffalo, who is like a 1-star school in this game, and then our other win came against FCS. So that's a game we should be winning anyway. So we're really looking. It's pretty much all up from here, I guess. But here's some of the conference champions here in year number 1. Now my recording did glitch a little bit, so the college football playoff is already in progress. I meant to show each stage of this, but you could see the final 4: Oregon, Georgia, Rutgers somehow making it to the top 4, and Ohio State. So a Big Ten matchup, and 3 of these teams are now in the Big Ten. But let's look at some of the stats of the year. Texas A&M had the number 1 offense, but I expect that we are going to have one of the worst, and we do have the worst, finishing behind all 3 of the military schools who run the option. So that is just crazy. Passing the ball, we were not in the bottom 10, but just outside of that. And rushing the ball, we were the 3rd worst. So that's definitely the area of focus for season number 2. And I think we will improve upon that. Only 15 points a game, only 6 rushing touchdowns. The run game, is definitely the number 1 focus here. In terms of defense, we don't have the worst defense. In terms of yards, at least. We are one of the worst teams at defending against the run. 3rd worst in terms of allowed points. And we didn't force a single fumble, although 10 different schools didn't force a fumble. And interceptions, I guess we were just kind of okay at that. One of the worst 3rd down teams in the country. And also one of the worst teams in the red zone. We didn't have a lot of penalties called against us in year number 1, so I did increase some of the penalty sliders. And for turnover differential, tied for 3rd worst, gave the ball away 21 times, 18 of which were interceptions. And we have hired a new offensive coordinator, Clarence Winston. I couldn't find where this guy came from. It says his alma mater is Rutgers, but the menu didn't show where he was fired from. I also looked him up in real life to see is this a real guy? I think the game generated this guy. But here's a look at some of the other coaching changes. And now here's a quick glance at some of the All-Americans. And obviously, no one on our team made this. The Heisman Trophy for season number 1 is going to Grayson McCall of NC State. And we'll take a look at some of his stats. So McCall had 3,800 yards and 43 touchdowns, and that was enough for him to win the trophy. So advancing the week, Ohio State defeats Rutgers, and Georgia defeats Oregon, so that will be the matchup. And simulating the week, Ohio State is the champion in season number 1. Now looking at some of the stats, Beck had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, ETN only 45 yards. Dominic Levet for Georgia had 2 touchdowns, 194 yards, but it was not enough for the win. Not really any defense. For Georgia. But Will Howard, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, a perfect day for him. And Tate Egbuka, I guess, and Jeremiah Smith had the touchdowns for Ohio State. So now here are all the awards for year number 1. I'm just going to quickly go through this. And then I'll show also the National Player of the Week, although we also do not have any players in this section as well. So now we are on to players leaving, and we do have a surprise here. Aiden Kramer, our starting right tackle, is deciding to transfer. I guess he does not like that we fired our offensive coordinator after the terrible offensive performance we had last year. And even though we brought in a guy who will help him out a lot more, he's deciding to transfer. So we'll have to see what school he ends up with. And this is the point where I realized that some of these players that I did put red shirts on who were seniors, they decided to just graduate anyway. I guess it didn't happen for all the players, so I guess they can choose whether they want to stay or graduate. And some of these seniors who didn't play at all, had the red shirt on them at the end of the year, they decided to transfer. So we're losing 4 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 5 wide receivers, including our top one of our top receivers, Bowers. We're, of course, losing our starting quarterback, Martin Kim, our starting running back, Harvey Peters, our starting tight end in Doyle, along with 3 other tight ends. Losing 4 out of our 5 offensive lineman starters. And we were only projected to lose 3 offensive linemen, but Kramer transferring, even though he would start next year. So we're also losing a bunch of defensive linemen. Morris and Murray were both starters. And I don't think any of our right ends played. I don't think these guys really saw the field. Frankie Flores, one of our best defensive players in year number 1, linebacker, led our team in tackles. He's graduating along with Castillo, who also had a lot of playtime for us. We're losing a bunch of cornerbacks. And then most of our safeties were backups anyway. We're losing Ian Kane, although some might say that's not really a loss. And finally, we can look at the transfer portal. So immediately I find a running back that wants to transfer to us. There's these 3 receivers that are open to transferring us. And I just kind of threw all of them on the board. Then I moved over to defense, and we definitely need some defensive line help. I throw some of those guys on there. And also definitely looking at corners, because we did lose, I think, 5 corners. And I only have 1 or 2 committed at this point, so that's a major need for us. And then I just kind of went through the list to try to fill out this recruiting board and found some extra players. So now let's look at the board. This running back, Daniels from Mississippi State, is one of these players I'm very interested in. We do have 1 running back committed, but we definitely need a second one after we just lost 4. So having a transfer junior would be pretty nice. And then I'm trying to save a lot of my points because we only have 600 total here in the offseason. But so just kind of scouting a little bit, trying to find some guys. This is Doug Blue Ellie, who is from New Jersey and one of the best transfers this season. So we're definitely trying to get him, but I'm not sure how feasible that's going to be. Keyshawn Robinson, he is from West Virginia, and he's only a freshman, so he would be a pretty big addition to our team. This defensive end, Yates, but we are still going after high school players. So, and we also have Cornell Dyansty, I guess. So going after both transfers and incoming freshmen at the defensive line. And we have some players ready for a visit, but I'm trying to focus specifically on some of these 3-stars. I think a lot of these 1-stars will probably commit as long as they are in the lead, so I'm not really trying to waste a lot of points. But after the first stage of recruiting, we do sign a safety, Deontay Tull. But that's the only signing we've had so far in the offseason. And then I decide, I guess we can now afford to give these guys some visits, although I took some players off the board. After that, I advanced the week. We do end up signing Terrell Monk, the 3-star corner. He will definitely play in year number 1. Maybe not as a starter, but he will definitely play as probably our 4th or 5th wide receiver, along with Eberle, who we signed earlier in the season. And then we also signed a 1-star linebacker, Contreras. Cornell Dyansty chooses Syracuse. Probably saw the game against us, so he's not coming here. Some of the other wide receivers have locked us out. We are in a good position for halfback Johnny Daniels, and he's ready for a visit. And the only thing he likes about our school is the playing time, so we might as well just pitch him on that. And Robinson also is in the same boat, so pitch him that. Now trying to find some other players just to add here. And specifically, I'm looking for guys who don't have offers. Just similar to my regular season recruiting strategy. We have Quaylin Hill, a defensive tackle who played at FIU, and Elijah Cannon, a cornerback. BB, just kind of not even scouting these guys, just immediately handing them all scholarships. They will all have a place on our team if they are a 3-star player. We do sign Eric Humphreys, a 1-star from Delaware, and Johnny Daniels, the transfer, does commit to us. So we do bring in 2 new running backs at least. Keyshawn Robinson will definitely be our best wide receiver prospect we brought in. He's a transfer. Quaylin Hill will also transfer to us. And Walker White, this is a guy I added last second just to get an extra quarterback on the team. And then Jack Beebe, a transfer from Ball State, be our last guy to commit in week number 3. So we do bring in Walker White, a 3rd quarterback. We already have Najvar and Cleveland, but we do have the 2 running backs. I'm okay with that because we do have some other running backs on the roster at least. 3 wide receivers, although 2 of them are only 1-stars. We did bring in 3 tight ends, 3 offensive linemen, which is pretty good. One of them is a gem, and 2 centers. So we do have 5 O-linemen, so I'm okay with that for right now. 3 defensive ends, 2 defensive tackles, a lot of middle linebackers, so some of these guys will be converted to outside linebackers. We did not get Elijah Cannon, but we did get Eberle and Monk. And we bring in 2 safeties and a kicker, which gives us the 66th class in the country. So 9 of our players being transfers. I don't think we're going to have this many transfers going forward, but for year number 1, just filling out some of these roster spots. A lot of these players are a year older than their class, we'll say. So it says senior, or junior, but a lot of them will be seniors. So just sort of some temporary spots, as we only have, looks like 9 3-stars. And a lot of these 1 and 2 stars are going to need some time to develop if they're going to start for our team. So let's talk about conferences. We played in the Independent in year number 1, and in year number 2 we are going to be moving to the American Conference. So we will be the 15th team in this conference. And just to balance it out, we will also be adding UMass, just to give us some even numbers, which will leave Notre Dame as the only independent school in the country. And I might mess around with conferences in the future, but for right now, it's fine. In the off-season, we can finally look at Clarence Winston and what his stats are. We can see he does have a lot of upgrades to the motivator tree. This is a tree I haven't touched yet, so we get a ton of boosts, and he has a lot of these to either stage 3 and 4, which is going to be huge for us because we are about to hit the off-season progression. And Maynard, the defensive coordinator, I kept him around mostly because he has some of these unlocks for the defense, especially that tier 2, the bottom tier. Although I'm not sure if he'll last after season number 2. So if our defense takes a good step up, then we'll keep him around. So Eric Henderson is up to a level 14. He has 90 points to spend after hitting some of his goals. So we unlock the Tactician tree. We can avoid Motivator for now because our offensive coordinator is basically a fully maxed out Motivator. And just kind of deciding that I definitely want the O-line to play better this year. And we also want our new quarterback to play well, Jose Naivar. And I've been saying his name wrong this entire time. I've been saying Najvar, which just did not sound right. So I looked it up and I found a player from Baylor who I guess is probably why his name is in the game. So we'll be calling him Naivar from now on. So then I wanted to spend my rest of my points on Recruiter, not just put them all in the Tactician, and we are going to improve with corners. So corners, O-linemen, and then also receivers, because those are the 3 position groups that I feel like you have to scout every year. Like we wanted the quarterback boost because it's the most important position on the team, but from then on, O-line, wide receiver, and corner, we will be recruiting every single year, so might as well get some boosts. Here's a look at our schedule for season number 2. We open at versus number 23 North Texas, so jumping right into conference play, 2 conference opponents actually, and then we're going to head to Rutgers, our in-state rival, and they're number 9 ranked, so not a great opening for us, but then we get kind of a break in the middle. Ball State, FIU, Army, Tulsa, UAB. We're going to have a rematch against UAB and then a rematch against Duke. Those are 2 teams, and also UMass at the end of the year. So we have 3 rematches from year number 1 to look forward to. And so now I'm just showing some red shirts. Artie Cleveland, the quarterback. It doesn't look like there's really going to be a role for him in year number 1. Don't want to redshirt Johnny Swartz. He will get a tryout. We redshirted the 2 1-star wide receivers, and no red shirts on the tight end. I think all these guys are going to play, even on some special teams or goal line packages. Any offensive lineman that was not projected to start, I did redshirt. I don't see them really making it onto the field, including Houston, who was on our roster last year. Then defensively, we have Tuefa and Tuggle. No red shirts on defensive line. And of course, we can always pull some of these red shirts or play specific players in games, but a lot of these guys, it's mostly just all the 50 overall players that we signed. They need some time to get up to speed. We're not going to redshirt Monk or Eberle. They will both play as true freshmen. Emmanuel was our top player in terms of development. He has actually star development, so we'll have to see how he is after year number 1. And our kicker and backup safety will also get redshirted. So here's what our team needs are looking like for season number 2. It says we need 33. Really, we have 19 seniors, so I'm looking probably to have a recruiting class of 25, because we do have a lot of roster spaces still available. But that's pretty much the end of the off season. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys are looking forward to season number 2. I surely am. I will catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.